Alrighty, so see this shelf right here? This exact empty spot? This is where my best stuff usually sits, and right now there is nothing on it, because I sold out again. Third weekend in a row. I keep telling myself I'm going to get ahead of it, build up a nice little backstock, and then I show up to the market and by lunchtime half my table is bare and I'm driving home with an empty tote and a full pocket. And the part that used to drive me a little crazy, it was never the big fancy builds that cleaned me out. Nobody was fighting over my $40 side table. It was the little stuff. The tiny 5-minute, 10-minute projects I almost didn't bother putting out. Those are the ones people grab 2 and 3 at a time and hand me cash before I've even finished my coffee. So today I want to walk you through the 7 tiny wood projects I literally cannot make fast enough, the ones that sell out on me every single time. I'm going to give you the real numbers, what it costs me to build, how long it takes, and what I actually charge. And the best part, every one of these starts with the same cheap construction lumber I always use, the 2x4s and the 1x6s from the box store, so you do not need a fancy shop to make this happen. Biscuit, off the wood. Okay, let's get into it. Now, before anybody in the comments starts, yes, this is all pine and fir and whatever the box store had stacked up that day. I know some folks turn their nose up at construction lumber. They'll tell you it's not real woodworking unless you're resawing walnut and running everything through a jointer and a planer. And I don't agree with that. I never have. When you're starting out, you should be learning on cheap wood. You're not scared to mess up, not spending crazy money on hardwood before you even know what you're doing. I taught myself on 2x4s and I'm still using them, and I'm going to show you how to make this stuff look good enough that nobody at the market ever asks what it's made of. And I'm building all of this assuming you've got almost nothing. No jointer, no planer, no fancy anything. If you've got a saw of some kind, a drill, a little sandpaper, and a bottle of glue, you can make money off every single project on this list. I'm trying really hard to keep this beginner friendly, so anywhere I do something a little sketchy I'll tell you, and I'll give you the safer way to do it too. Alrighty, number 1, and this is the one that taught me the whole lesson, coasters. But not plain coasters, because plain wood coasters are a dime a dozen and everybody's aunt makes them. I'm talking about coasters with a little strip of resin poured right down the middle, that glassy colored line running through the wood. That is the thing that makes somebody stop walking. Here's how cheap this is. I take a chunk of 2x6, cut it into little squares about 4 inches across, then I run a shallow groove down the middle and pour in some tinted epoxy. A single 2x6, which runs me around $5 or $6, gives me enough for like 4 or 5 sets of 4. So my wood cost per set is maybe $1, and the resin, even the little starter kit, works out to a couple bucks a set once you spread it around. Call it $3 all in for a set of 4. Now the fun part. Because that resin line makes them look like something out of a boutique, I sell a set of 4 for $18 to $25 from a $3 build. And they cure while I sleep, so I pour a big batch on the bench at night, and by morning I've got backstock ready to sand and finish. I like a deep teal or a burnt orange in the pour, something with a little life to it, because the color is really what's doing the selling here. Plain clear resin is fine, but a pop of color is what makes a person's hand reach out before their brain is even caught up. The build itself is maybe 15 minutes of hands-on time per batch, the rest is just waiting on the epoxy. Only thing I'll flag, mix your resin in a spot with good airflow and wear gloves. That stuff is sticky and the fumes aren't nothing. And the person who buys these? It's the one setting up a new apartment or hunting for a hostess gift. They see that resin shine, they picture it on a coffee table, and they grab a set without blinking. Which brings me right to the folks buying for their desk. Number 2, phone and tablet stands. And these are for the desk crowd. Everybody, and I mean everybody, has a phone they prop up while they're watching something or sitting on a video call, and a nice little wood stand beats a hunk of plastic every time. This one's almost embarrassing how cheap it is. A single chunk off a 2x4, maybe 6 inches of it, that's what, 40 cents of wood. I cut one angled slot for the phone to lean into, and a shallow groove at the bottom to hold it, sand the corners round so it feels nice in the hand, and that's basically it. If you want to get fancy, you make a bigger one with a deeper slot for a tablet. Build time. Honestly, 10 minutes once you've made a couple and you know your angles. I charge $12 to $18 depending on the size, and the tablet ones go for more because people see them as a real desk upgrade. Here's my little trick to make a 40-cent piece of fur look like a purchase. I hit it with a dark stain and then sand the edges back so the high spots go light, gives it that worn, rustic, been around a while look. Same trick I used on that little wall shelf build I did a while back. Nobody looks at it and thinks 2x4. They think small batch, handmade, gimme one for the home office. I usually cut the lean at about a 15-degree angle, which holds a phone at a nice comfortable tilt without letting it slide off, and I round every edge with a bit of sandpaper so there's not a single sharp corner on it. Little details like that are the difference between looks homemade and looks handmade. And that's your buyer, the work from home crowd, and anybody grabbing a little something for their coworker. Real quick while that stain's drying on the stand, if you're the kind of person who likes turning a cheap 2x4 into something worth money, come subscribe here at Hank Hardwood. That's the whole channel, plain builds a beginner can pull off. Made from box store lumber, no fancy tools required. We're only 2 projects deep and the good ones are still coming, so stick around. Speaking of setting a mood on a desk or a table, number 3, candle and tea light holders, and this is the one that turns into free money the second the days get shorter. Come fall, come the holidays, people want that cozy, warm glow on every surface, and a little wood holder is an impulse buy every time. Dead simple. I take a block off a 2x4, or even better, a scrap of 4x4 if I've got it, cut it into a chunk, maybe 3 or 4 inches tall, and I drill a hole in the top size for a tea light. Standard tea lights are about 1.5 inches across, so I use an 1.5 inch Forstner bit and drill down about 1/2 inch. Done. You can line up 3 little blocks at different heights and sell them as a set. That's what really moves. Wood costs, we're talking pennies, maybe 50 cents for a set of 3 little blocks. Build time is 10 minutes, mostly just drilling. And I sell a set of 3 for $10 to $15 all day long. One safety note, if you're drilling into a small block, clamp it down, do not hold it in your hand. A Forstner bit can grab and spin that block, and you do not want your fingers anywhere near that. Clamp it, keep it simple, keep all 10 fingers. Same rustic finish trick as before, dark stains sanded back, and I'll tell you, the tea light glow through that worn wood looks way more expensive than 50 cents. The buyer here is anybody decorating for a season or setting a dinner table, and it's a volume machine because nobody ever buys just one. Number 4, personalized keychains. And this is the one that taught me the magic word in this whole business, and that word is personalized. The second you put somebody's name or initials on a thing, it stops being a product and starts being a gift, and gifts sell. These are made almost entirely from offcuts, the little scraps I'd normally toss in the bin, or, well, you already know what I do with my sawdust if you saw that one. I cut a little rectangle or a rounded tag out of scrap, maybe 2 inches long, drill a hole for the ring, sand it smooth, and then burn or engrave initials into it. If you've got a cheap wood burning tool, that's all you need. No burner, a little stencil, and some paint works too. Cost is basically nothing, pennies, because it's scrap plus a key ring that runs a few cents in a bag of 100. Build time is maybe 5 minutes each, less if you batch a whole row of them at once. And I sell them for $6 to $10 a pop, more if somebody wants a full custom name. Now the reason these fly, they're the perfect little add-on. Somebody's already buying a set of coasters, they spot a keychain with their kid's initial, they add it to the pile. Party favors, stocking stuffers, teacher gifts, wedding tables, people buy these 10 and 20 at a time. The buyer is honestly everybody, which is exactly why I can never keep them on the table. I'll batch a whole tray of blank tags on a slow evening, initials A through Z, and just grab whatever letter somebody's after. That little bit of prep is the difference between making the sale right there and watching somebody wander off to find one somewhere else. Number 5, little succulent planters, and this one rides a trend that just does not quit. Everybody and their sister has a little succulent on their desk or their windowsill right now, and they all need something to sit in. I make these 2 ways depending on my mood. Easy way, I take a chunk of 4x4, drill a big wide hole in the top with a Forstner bit or a spade bit, hollow out a little pocket, drill 1 drainage hole in the bottom, done. Little more involved way, I build a tiny open box out of 1x6 offcuts, 4 little walls and a bottom, glue and a couple brad nails, or even just tape while the glue sets if you don't have nails. Either way, you end up with a cute little planter. Wood cost is about $1, maybe less if it's all scrap. Build time on the drilled kind is 15 minutes, the little box takes 20 with glue drying. I sell the bare planter for $12 to $15, and if I drop a cheap little succulent in it from the garden center, I'll get 18 to 20 because now it's a finished gift they don't have to think about. I keep a couple half-dead plants on my own bench that I've nursed back just to stage these for photos, and let me tell you, those sad little plants have finally earned their keep. The buyer here is the plant person and the office gift giver, and they buy in 2s because 1 is never enough. Alright, this next one is my personal favorite to make. Number 6, wall-mounted and handheld bottle openers, and this is my personal favorite because it feels like you're making something way more impressive than it actually is. You take a nice looking piece of wood, shape a handle, screw a little metal opener onto it, and suddenly you've got a $15 gift that took you 10 minutes. Here's the breakdown. The wood is a scrap of 2x4, or a nicer offcut if you've got one, shaped down with a saw and a lot of sanding until it feels good in the hand. That's pennies of wood. The only real cost is the opener hardware, the little metal catch, and those run about $1 to $2 each when you buy a pack. So your total cost is maybe $1.50, $2. Build time, 10 minutes of shaping and sanding, then 2 screws. And I sell these for $14 to $20 more if I burn a last name into the handle, because we are right back to that magic word, personalized. These are a dad gift, a groomsman gift, a gift for the guy who supposedly has everything. Father's Day, I cannot keep them in stock. I'm building them the night before every single time, swearing I'll get ahead next year. The buyer is anybody shopping for a hard-to-shop-for guy, and there are a whole lot of those. Which brings me to the last one, and it might be the single fastest money on this whole list. At number 7, seasonal ornaments, the fastest money on the list, no contest. I'm talking little wood shapes, a tree, a star, a snowflake, a pumpkin in the fall, a heart around February, whatever the season calls for, cut out of thin stock, sanded, finished, with a little loop of twine to hang it. Now, the wood. Thin stock is where a lot of beginners get stuck, because they don't have a planer to thin a board down. So here's my beginner-friendly workaround. You can resaw a thin slice off a 1x6 by standing it up and running it through your saw. And I'll be straight with you, freehand resawing on a table saw is not the safest way to do this. So if you're not comfortable, use a bandsaw if you've got one, or honestly just buy a pack of thin craft wood or grab some paint stir sticks and skip the resawing entirely. No shame in it, I did exactly that for a year. Cost per ornament, pennies. Build time, 5 minutes each, and you batch these, you cut 20 at once and finish them assembly line style. I sell them for $6 to $12 each, or as little sets, and around the holidays they just vanish. People decorate a whole tree, they buy in bulk, they come back for more. The buyer is anybody who decorates for a holiday, which is basically the whole planet, and because they're seasonal, there's always a new season coming to sell into. That's the finished lineup, all 7, sitting on the bench, and every single one of them just came off that bench looking like it cost real money. So there's your 7. Coasters, phone stands, candle holders, keychains, planters, bottle openers, and ornaments. And if you line them all up on the bench like I've got them right now, you start to see exactly why. These are the ones that clean me out every weekend while the big furniture just sits there looking lonely. It's the same 3 things every time. They're small, so I can make a whole pile of them in one afternoon. They're cheap to build, pennies to a couple bucks each, so even at $10 or $15 a pop, the margins are almost silly. And they're giftable, which means people don't buy one, they buy 3 and 4 at a time because they're already picturing who else they can hand one to. That's the whole game. You're building a table full of little easy wins from the cheapest lumber at the store, and you keep restocking it because it keeps walking right out the door. That empty shelf I showed you at the start, that's not a problem. That's the business working exactly like it's supposed to. I just gotta build faster. And you can start this weekend with one 2x4 and whatever's already in your scrap bin. Pick 2 of these, build yourself a batch, see which ones move. I bet money it's the coasters and the keychains, because for me it always is. Before you go, if watching me turn a stack of cheap 2x4s into a table full of stuff people fight over is your kind of thing, come subscribe to Hank Hardwood. The whole channel is beginner friendly, builds off construction lumber, no snob tools required, and I've got a ton more money makers and furniture builds lined up ready to film. Come build the next one with me.